$50,000. That's what Jae-sung Park offered Elena Winters to be his fake fiancée for one weekend. She should have said no. She should have walked away. But here's the thing about desperation, it makes you do stupid things. And destroying a billionaire's laptop with her morning smoothie, that was just the beginning of her stupidity. Let Elena back up. 3 weeks into her dream job at Park Industries, she was still the nobody data analyst who compiled reports and tried not to have panic attacks during board meetings. Her student loans had student loans. Her brother's rehabilitation bills were drowning her. She was one emergency away from losing everything she'd fought for since working her way out of poverty at 19. So when Elena crashed into Jae-sung Park in the executive hallway that morning, her acai smoothie exploding across his open laptop like a purple crime scene, she didn't just see her career ending, she saw everything ending. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Park, I didn't see you," she stammered. His voice could have frozen hell. Those dark eyes pinned her like she was something he wanted to erase from existence, cataloging every flaw, every tell, every reason she didn't belong on his floor. He didn't move, didn't flinch, just stood there watching purple liquid seep into electronics that probably cost more than her entire year's salary. "You're the new analytics hire, Elena Winters." He knew her name. Somehow that was worse than the smoothie, worse than the humiliation burning her face. "Yes, sir. I can replace the laptop. I'll pay for it. Forget it." He brushed past her and she caught expensive cologne mixed with berries and something else, exhaustion maybe, the kind that lives in your bones. Elena pressed her forehead against the cool wall and counted to 10. 3 weeks. She'd lasted 3 weeks before destroying her shot at escaping the poverty that had haunted her entire life. But by noon, no one cared about her disaster. The office had found a better scandal. "Oh my God, Elena, did you see?" Her cubicle mate Tasha shoved her phone in Elena's face, practically vibrating with gossip. Min Seo Choi just got engaged. The woman on the screen was stunning, with perfect features and wearing a smile that could slice through steel. She draped herself over a man in an expensive suit. A diamond the size of a small planet glittered on her finger. "Said yes to my soulmate and partner David Chin," the caption read, followed by enough hashtags to drown in. "So?" Elena handed the phone back, trying to care. Tasha looked at her like she'd sprouted a third eye. "Min Seo Choi is Jae-sung Park's ex-fiancée, and David Chin, that's Park's former business partner. They founded this company together before David betrayed him, stole half their proprietary software, and became our biggest competitor." Elena looked toward the corner office. Through the glass walls, Jae-sung stood with his back to the world, phone pressed to his ear. From this distance, he looked carved from ice, untouchable. But she'd seen something in those eyes this morning, just for a second. Something wounded. "The press is destroying him," Tasha continued, scrolling through headlines. Their shadows swayed gently, dingries. Their shadows stretching across the water. Their shadows. Their shadows. The sunset best friend right off into the sunset. Park Industries stock dropped 3 points in an hour. That felt cruel, calculated, like a knife twisted just to watch someone bleed. At 5:30, Elena's desk phone rang. "Mr. Purse, Park wants to see you." Her stomach dropped. This was it. The firing she'd been expecting since the smoothie incident. She gathered her things, practiced her professional goodbye, and took the elevator to the 15th floor like she was heading to her execution. His assistant waved her through without a word. The office was all windows and cold lines, Seoul's skyline glittering like broken glass beyond the glass. Jae-sung stood with his back to her, hands in his pockets, staring at the city he'd conquered. "Close the door." She obeyed. Her heart hammered against her ribs. He turned, and for the first time, she really looked at him. Sharp cheekbones that could have been carved by someone angry at stone, black hair perfectly styled, and those eyes, God, those eyes that seemed to see every secret she'd ever kept. "I need a fiancé." The words hung in the air like smoke. She waited for the punchline. "I'm sorry, what?" "For this weekend. The Peninsula Hotel in Seoul. 600 guests. National media coverage. The official launch gala for a technology platform my company is heavily invested in." He moved to his desk with the grace of someone who'd never stumbled in his life. Pulled out a folder. Min Seo Choi and David Chen will be there, gloating, making a spectacle of their happiness at my expense. Mr. Park, I don't understand. The narrative right now is that I'm pathetic, the dumped ex still nursing a broken heart while they play power couple for the cameras. He slid the folder across the desk. That narrative is costing me. Investor confidence, leverage in negotiations, respect. His jaw tightened. I need someone smart, quick on their feet, and completely unknown to the media. You're perfect. Her hands shook as she opened the folder. A contract legal official. Her eyes caught on the numbers and her brain short-circuited. $50,000. Full student loan forgiveness. Promotion to senior analyst. This is insane. It's survival. He sat on the edge of his desk, close enough that she could see the fatigue in his eyes. The rage buried beneath expensive control. 24 hours of preparation, one weekend of performance. Convince everyone we're madly in love and you walk away set for life. She looked at the contract, at the number that could change everything, at the man who just handed her salvation wrapped in a lie. What's the catch? His smile was sharp enough to draw blood. You have to make them believe it. Because Min Seo Choi doesn't lose, and neither do I. Elena signed the contract at midnight in Jae-sung's penthouse, her hand steady even though her world was tilting sideways. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey that probably cost more than her monthly rent, slid one across the marble counter. To bad decisions, she said, raising her glass. To necessary ones. He didn't smile, but something flickered in those dark eyes. Respect, maybe, or recognition that they were both about to jump off a cliff together. The whiskey burned going down. Good. She needed to feel something other than the panic clawing at her chest. Tell me about her, Elena said. Min Zeo. If I'm going to convince people I replaced her, I need to know what I'm up against. Jae-sung's jaw tightened. He moved to the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city glittering below like scattered stars. We met in graduate school. She was studying international business. I was building my first startup from a campus lab. She believed in me when no one else did, or so I thought. What happened? David happened. His voice went flat, emotionless, the kind of control that comes from practice. My best friend, my co-founder, the person I trusted with everything, they'd been sleeping together for 8 months before I found out. 8 months of lying to my face, stealing proprietary code, planning their exit strategy. She was a spy. She was patient. He turned, and the look on his face made Elena's stomach drop. Mincio doesn't do anything without a reason. The engagement, the public announcement, showing up at my event this weekend, it's all calculated. She wants to watch me suffer. Then let's not give her the satisfaction. Elena set down her glass, surprised by the steel in her own voice. You said you needed someone smart. Someone quick use me, not just as arm candy, but as an actual partner. I've been analyzing David Chen's expansion patterns for a project. I know how he thinks. Jae-sung studied her like she was a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. You read Chen's files? I read everything. It's how I got this job. She moved closer, emboldened by whiskey and desperation. You're fighting this like it's personal, but it's business. David is making a move on Park Industries because he thinks you're emotionally compromised. Prove him wrong. How? By showing up with me. By being so madly in love, so clearly moved on, that Min Seo's whole power play falls apart. She held his gaze. And then, while they're distracted by the show, we destroy whatever move David is planning. A slow smile spread across Jae-sung's face reel this time. Dangerous. You're not what I expected, Elena Winters. Good. Min Seo won't expect me either. The next 12 hours were chaos wrapped in designer labels. Jae-sung's stylist, Vivienne, descended on Elena like a fashionable hurricane, armed with gowns and opinions. Too safe, Jae-sung said, vetoing a tasteful black number. Too obvious. He dismissed a red cocktail dress. When Vivienne brought out a deep sapphire gown that hugged every curve, his eyes darkened. Perfect. It's $5,000, Elena whispered, touching the silk like it might disintegrate. You're worth it. He said it so matter-of-factly, like he believed it. Like maybe she should believe it too. They flew to Seoul in Jae-sung's private jet, the city sprawling beneath them like a circuit board. He briefed her on names, faces, business dealings. She memorized everything, turning it over in her mind like puzzle pieces. One more thing, he said as they approached the hotel. Minseo will try to get under your skin. She's good at finding weaknesses. Everyone has weaknesses. What's yours? Elena looked at him, at this man who'd offered her a fortune to play pretend, and told him the truth. I care too much. I look at people like you, people who've built empires, and I see the cost. The loneliness, the way you stand at windows staring at cities you've conquered, wondering if any of it matters. His expression shifted, something vulnerable, quickly hidden. That's dangerous, Elena. Caring? I know. But it's also my superpower. She smiled, trying to lighten the moment. I see people really see them. So when we walk into that gala, I won't be acting. I'll be showing everyone what they want to see. Two people who actually give a damn about each other. The car pulled up to the peninsula. Jae-sung stepped out first, then offered his hand. The moment she took it, cameras flashed. The show had begun. Ready? He murmured, pulling her close. Born ready. They walked into the peninsula like they owned it. The ballroom was all crystal chandeliers and gold, dripping with wealth and people who'd never worried about where their next meal came from. Jae-sung's hand rested on the small of her back, possessive and warm. And then she saw her. Min Seo-choi stood by the champagne fountain in a white dress that screamed innocence, David Chen at her side like a guard dog. She was even more beautiful in person, flawless skin, dark hair cascading in perfect waves, eyes sharp as broken glass. She saw them. Her smile froze. Showtime, Jae-sung whispered against her ear. And then he kissed her temple so tenderly Elena almost forgot they were lying. Min Seo approached, David trailing behind, and Elena felt Jae-sung's body tense against hers. Jae-sung. Her voice was honey over razors. You didn't mention you were bringing a date. Min Seo. He didn't let go of Elena. This is Elena, my fiancée. The word dropped like a bomb. Min Seo's perfect composure cracked for just a second. Shock, fury, calculation flashing across her face before the mask slammed back into place. Fiancé. She turned those cold eyes on Elena. How unexpected. And what do you do, Elena? I work at Park Industries, Elena said, meeting Min Seo's gaze without flinching. Strategic analytics. I analyze market vulnerabilities and identify growth opportunities. How fascinating. Min Seo's smile could have cut diamonds. And how long have you two been together? Long enough to know what matters. Jae-sung pulled Elena closer, his body a wall of heat against her side. And what doesn't? The hit landed. Min Seo's eyes flashed with something dark and furious before David stepped forward, all fake charm and expensive veneers. Park, good to see you. He extended his hand. Jae-sung didn't take it. Chen, I'd say the same, but we both know I'd be lying. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Around them, guests were starting to notice phones appearing. Cameras angling for the shot. This was exactly what Minseo wanted. A scene. Proof that Jae-sung was still wounded, still affected. Elena slid her hand into Jae-sung's, squeezed once. His eyes met hers, and she saw the question there. Trust me, she mouthed. Actually, Elena said brightly, turning to Minseo. I'm so glad we ran into you. Jae-sung's told me so much about your time together. It must have been special. Minseo blinked, thrown by the kindness in her voice. But I have to thank you, Elena continued, her smile genuine and warm. If you hadn't let him go, I never would have found him. So really your loss is my incredible gain. She stood on her toes and kissed Jae-sung's cheek, letting her lips linger just long enough to make it real. When she pulled back, his eyes were dark with something that made her stomach flip. Min Seo's mask cracked further. How sweet, she managed. We should get to our table, David said quickly, grabbing Min Seo's elbow. Congratulations on your engagement. They disappeared into the crowd, and Jae-sung let out a breath he'd been holding. That was strategic, Elena finished. She wanted to see you hurt. Instead, she saw you happy. That's the one thing she can't compete with. You're dangerous, Elena Winters. His voice was low, intimate. Remind me never to get on your bad side. You already did. Smoothie, remember? He laughed, actually laughed. The sound was rusty, like he didn't do it often, but it transformed his face from intimidating to something almost human. The evening blurred into champagne and carefully orchestrated touches. Jae-sung kept his hand on her waist, her shoulder, playing with her fingers during dinner. Each touch sent electricity racing through her veins, making it harder to remember this was pretend. During dessert, Min Sale appeared at their table, alone. Jae-sung, can we talk? Privately, for old time's sake. Every instinct screamed danger. Elena felt Jae-sung hesitate, felt the old pull of history and unfinished business. Anything you need to say, you can say in front of Elena, he said finally. Min Seo's expression hardened. Fine. David has proof you've been leaking information to competitors. He's filing a lawsuit Monday morning. She touched Jae-sung's hand. I tried to stop him, but maybe if we talked, really talked, I could convince him to back off. It was manipulation, pure and simple. But Elena saw the flicker of doubt in Jae-sung's eyes. The old wound reopening. No, Elena said, standing. You don't get to do this. You don't get to play savior after setting the fire. Minseo's face went cold. Excuse me? David doesn't have proof because there isn't any. This is a bluff to rattle Jae-sung, to make him desperate enough to come crawling back to you. Elena stepped closer. But he's not that man anymore. He's moved on. You think you know him after what, a few weeks? Minseo's laugh was sharp. I spent years with him. I know every weakness, every fear, every way to hurt him, Elena finished. Yeah, I can see that. But the difference between us is that I actually care about him. Not his company, not his money. Him. Minseo's composure shattered. You're nothing. A nobody who got lucky. That's enough. Jae-sung stood, his voice cutting to her venom. Elena's right. We're done here, Minseo. Permanently. He took Elena's hand and led her away, past the whispers and cameras, onto a private terrace overlooking the city. The moon painted silver paths across the Han River. You didn't have to do that, he said quietly. Yes, I did. She was trying to manipulate you. Elena. He turned her to face him, his hands on her shoulders. That wasn't part of the deal. Defending me, getting angry for me, that was real. Her heart hammered. Maybe it was. This is dangerous. But he didn't let go. We're supposed to be pretending. I know. If we cross this line, I know. She looked up at him, at this man who'd offered her everything and nothing all at once. But I stopped pretending somewhere between the contract and right now. He kissed her, not for cameras, not for the crowd, just for them. His hands cupped her face like she was something precious. She melted into him, tasting champagne and desperation and something terrifyingly like hope. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. Stay with me tonight, he whispered. Not because of the contract. Because I don't want to let you go. Yes. They went back to his suite. And for the first time in her life, Elena understood what it meant to be someone's choice. Morning light filtered through floor-to-ceiling windows, turning Seoul into liquid gold. Elena woke wrapped in thousand-thread-count sheets and Jae-sung's arms, feeling like she'd crossed into a different universe. Then she heard his voice from the balcony, low and tense, on the phone. Director Kim, listen to me. The arrangement with Elena is working exactly as planned. Min Seo's rattled. David's off balance. Nothing's changed. Her blood turned to ice. No, there are no complications, Jae-sung continued. She's playing her part perfectly. Once this weekend is over, we'll handle the transition professionally. The contract terms are clear. Elena couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Last night, everything he'd said, the way he'd touched her, the vulnerability in his eyes, it was still just business to him, still just the arrangement. She grabbed her dress from the floor, her hands shaking so badly she could barely zip it. She had to get out, had to leave before he came back and saw her face, saw how completely she'd fallen for his performance. Elena. She spun around. Jae-sung stood in the doorway, phone in hand, confusion creasing his forehead. I have to go. What's wrong? Nothing's changed. She repeated his words back to him, watching them land like bullets. The arrangement is working exactly as planned, right? I'm playing my part perfectly. His face went white. You heard everything. She pushed past him, desperate for the door. Congratulations, Mr. Park. You got exactly what you paid for. A convincing performance. Elena, wait. That's not. Don't. Tears burned her eyes. But she refused to let them fall. Not in front of him. I knew the deal. $50,000 one weekend. Make it convincing. Mission accomplished. She reached the door, but his hand caught her wrist. Let me explain. There's nothing to explain. She finally looked at him, let him see the devastation he'd caused. You were very clear. Nothing's changed. We'll handle the transition professionally. The contract terms are clear. Each word hurt like pulling glass from a wound. I just forgot for a second that this was all pretend. My mistake. It's not pretend. Not for me. Not anymore. Then why were you? Because I'm terrified. The words exploded out of him, raw and desperate. Because everyone I've ever loved has betrayed me. And you, God, Elena, you see right through me. You see all the broken parts I try to hide, and you don't run. You defend me. You believe in me. And that's so much more dangerous than anything Minseal ever did. She stared at him, her anger wavering. Director Kim called about the transition plan because he assumed this was still fake, and I told him it was working because I don't know how to. He ran his hand through his hair, frustration and fear written all over his face. I don't know how to admit that I've fallen for someone I hired to pretend. How pathetic is that? Pretty pathetic, she whispered. I know. His laugh was broken. I've built $1 billion company, crushed competitors, survived betrayals that would destroy most people. But admitting that I'm in love with you, that you have the power to absolutely wreck me, that terrifies me more than anything. You love me? So much it keeps me awake at night. He stepped closer, his hands framing her face. I love how you negotiated with me like an equal. I love how you see through people's masks. I love that you destroyed my laptop and apologized like your life depended on it. I love that you're fierce and kind and brilliant. And you make me want to be more than just the man who survived his betrayals. Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. You should have told me. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He wiped her tears with his thumbs. But I need you to know something else. 4 days ago, before any of this, before the kiss, before last night, I had my lawyers draw up partnership papers for a consulting firm, Park and Winters Analytics. 50-50 ownership. What? He pulled out his phone, showed her dated documents. I was planning to offer you a real partnership regardless of what happened this weekend. Because you're that good, Elena, not because of this arrangement. Not because I needed you for show. Because you're genuinely brilliant, and I want to build something with you. She looked at the documents, at the date stamp, at the proof that this wasn't just words. I was going to tell you after the gala, he continued. I thought it would be cleaner, more professional, but then you defended me at dinner, and you kissed me on that terrace, and I realized I didn't want clean or professional. I wanted real. I wanted you. This is insane, she said. But she was smiling through tears. We barely know each other. Then let's change that. No more contracts. No more pretending. Just us, figuring this out together. He pressed his forehead to hers. What do you say, partner? I say you're still a terrible communicator. I know. And you're emotionally constipated. Absolutely. And if you ever make me think you're using me again, I will destroy you. I believe you. His smile was soft, genuine, devastating. So was that a yes? She kissed him, pouring every ounce of frustration and love and hope into it. 6 months later, Elena stood in front of their office building, staring at gold letters on glass Park and Winters Analytics. Their firm, their future, built on honesty instead of lies. Jae-sung wrapped his arms around her waist from behind. The engagement ring on her finger, the real one, caught the sunlight. Having second thoughts about the business or the wedding? Either. Both? She turned in his arms. Not even for a second. Good, because you're stuck with me, Elena Winters. No contracts. No escape clauses. Just us. Just us, she agreed, and kissed him in front of their new beginning. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching Elena and Jae-sung's story. If you enjoyed this billionaire romance, Hit that like button and subscribe for more dramatic love stories. Drop a comment telling me, would you take a deal like Elena's? Would you fake it for $50,000?